we have uncovered emails that show that top Biden associates have emailed amongst Biden family members where they discuss what to do with the money that's being set aside for the Biden Center, specifically at the University of Delaware. And one of the things they've come up with is the idea to not put Joe Biden's name on the memorandum of understanding, but in an effort to obfuscate, in an effort to conceal, in an effort to hide the financing of this Biden Center scheme and the foreign money that's funding it, what they did is they offered to put Hunter Biden's name or another Biden name.
So the more time passes, the more it appears that a slew of people with the last name Biden receive money from China for work that is still unknown. The Republican-led House of Representatives is chasing down the facts, and so too is the Government Accountability Institute, where Eric Eggers is an investigator and joins us now. Eric, how are you?
Rob, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. So last time we spoke, we know that an additional name, Haley, has been named to the Biden family business. The House of Representatives, their subcommittee, is digging into any connection that might exist between money that flowed from China to the Biden Center at University of Pennsylvania and Delaware and may have gone to the president. No implication yet, but anything that you can add to that, where we're at now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the key verb you used there, Rob, is flowed, because that's exactly what happened. As soon as the Biden Center was established at not one university, the University of Pennsylvania, but two at the University of Delaware as well, an influx of foreign money poured into the coffers of those universities, some of it intentionally withheld in terms of transparency. And so what we now can report, and what we've been reporting on our podcast, The Drill Down, is that we have uncovered emails that show that top Biden associates have emailed amongst Biden family members where they discuss what to do with the money that's being set aside for the Biden Center, specifically at the University of Delaware. And one of the things they've come up with is the idea to not put Joe Biden's name on the memorandum of understanding, but in an effort to obfuscate, in an effort to conceal, in an effort to hide the financing of this Biden Center scheme and the foreign money that's funding it. What they did is they offered to put Hunter Biden's name or another Biden name. And they also talked about how, well, listen, we get $2.5 million a year for this, but now listen, we can't spend all of it on salaries. We're going to have to spend some of it on conferences. So the emails that we've uncovered, that we've published on our website and we've discussed on our podcast, I think absolutely shed a light, as the House of Republicans Oversight Committee is doing as well, on just how crooked and sordid the financing scheme and the efforts to conceal the Bidens went to keep America from understanding just how bad this is.
You did a lot of digging on the Clinton Foundation and where the money came and went. Follow the money is so big in politics and in criminal investigations. Do you think following the money will eventually lead to Biden on this?
I don't see how it wouldn't. We have multiple emails where Biden family members say 10% is going to be set aside for the big guy, where that's universally acknowledged that that's Joe Biden, the president of the United States. We have other emails where we know that Joe Biden's involved in the finances. And I mean, remember, this was set up to help kind of feather the nest. Hunter Biden references the Clinton Foundation as a model for what they wanted the Biden Center to be. And it's interesting, Rob, you made an excellent point in the introduction to this segment. You said, what work have the Bidens actually provided for the money that they've gotten from these foreign sources? With the Clintons, at least the Clinton Foundation is doing some work overseas. At least Bill Clinton would show up and give a speech for an hour to an organization. People appear to be paying the Bidens just because their name is Biden and because they're related to the former vice president and the presumptive future president, which turned out to be a pretty good bet. So absolutely, I think Hunter Biden saw the arrangements the Clintons had while Hillary was Secretary of State, and they said, you know what, that sounds good. Let's model this. Let's replicate this while my dad's vice president. That appears to be exactly what they've done. So I think further inquiry will absolutely yield more connections to Joe Biden. Remember, the more they dig, the closer it gets to Joe. It doesn't get further away.
Have you or anyone at GAI have any evidence that the decisions that President Biden has made, especially with China, that he's given them some slack because of his potential involvement?
Right. That's a great question, Rob. And I think ultimately that is the question. But I think the answer to that is less about a quid pro quo. That was the standard we held the Clintons to. You have to consider what the Chinese business model is. This is a culture that thinks in terms of dynasties, not weekly transactions. And they've said their whole philosophy is of elite capture is meant to slowly but consistently over time soften and weaken, so that I think when something like, let's say, the Chinese spy balloon, or something like the fact that China is now engaged in trade deals with people in our hemisphere that might not have been okay under previous administrations, if there's a hesitancy to engage more firmly there, I think that all sort of adds to the atmosphere in which decisions are made. And I think that's the right context to think about this in.
Hunter Biden, a private citizen with every right to pursue his own business endeavors, joined several business partners in seeking a joint venture with a legitimate energy company in China. Hunter received his portion of good faith seed funds, which he shared with his uncle James Biden and Haley Biden, and nobody else. So they're also going after the computer store owner who put out that computer content, gave it to Rudy Giuliani. So, all right, you're teed up. How do you make sense of this?
Well, the banking records indicate that there was a fourth unnamed Biden. I wonder who that is. We'll find out at some point when the hearings dig into it. But I think everybody believes it is the big guy, Joe Biden himself, who, according to Hunter Biden's laptop, that he denied even having for the longest time, now he's suing somebody for having had his laptop. It's all convoluted, but I think it's one of those cases where the chickens are coming home to roost, and boy, there's a whole bunch of chickens coming in to roost on this one. Look at the lawsuit that he's filing against John Paul Mack. He's been on our show not very long ago. I think that's going to be fascinating because in the discovery process, one of the things Hunter's going to have to do is identify some of that nasty, salacious video and admit, yep, that's really him. Yep, that's him talking. Yep, those are his emails and documents where he's discussing the family business of the Bidens and how many people get a cut of it. And so it may be something he doesn't want to do in the long run. I don't think John Paul Mack is the least bit intimidated by it. He's already been through the worst of it. So I'd say buckle up and pop some popcorn on that one. Here's the bigger issue. The bigger issue is Hunter can say, look, I'm a private citizen. Yes, you are. But you flew on Air Force Two to go to China to make these deals. Now, how many people get to do that? I'm wondering if maybe I could give a call to Kamala Harris and say, hey, next trip you make overseas, I'd like a ride because I might be able to pick up some business. Look, I just got back from Taipei, Taiwan, been there all this past week, got in late last night. I would have loved to have had a ride on something like Air Force Two because a 30-hour trip of making connections all over the world to get home was a little bit more difficult than I would like to have had.
The House committee chair said that we've got more investigations. Haley's name was released. There might be suggestion that there is definitely one more Biden in this. But really, we don't hear about this in the media. They're not picking up on this story. When do you think they're actually going to see a story here?
I can't believe that mainstream media ignores something of this magnitude. I don't know how they do it. I think Donald Trump is right. The press has become the enemy of the people. Maybe there's a few good reporters left. I think you're still seeing it at the New York Post and a few places, but for the most part, there is no journalism being practiced, not by the mainstream. This would be an absolute lead story on every network at night. It would be the front page of every paper in the country. If it were anybody other than Joe Biden, the press is covering for him. It's disgusting, but more than that, it's dangerous. And I say that word very intentionally, Rob, because when you have the truth of government corruption, or the potential of it, let me be careful, the potential of government corruption to the highest level, and you're not even interested in it, you don't even follow it to its logical conclusion, and maybe it's not true. If it isn't, then tell us and show us that it isn't true. But to ignore it is dereliction of duty that is a true danger to a freedom-based people being able to live their lives.